Hi, I'm Rich Hansen, Product Development Manager at Track Bowling, and we're here today to talk to you about the I-Core for Track. The I-Core stands for Interchangeable Core. The I-Core's first version was used in the LX16 and the MX16. This version featured a lower RG, high differential, and high intermediate differential. This combination gave both the LX16 and MX16 a fast revving engine that offered a lot of hook potential. The latest version is the Track Tour 6. This version of the I-Core has a high RG and a low differential, but is also perfectly symmetrical. This gives a Tour 6 a clean look to the front with a strong controllable reaction down lane. I'm going to send it over to Ron Hickland, and he's going to tell you exactly what we did to the I-Core to get to the Tour 6.
Hi, I'm Ron Hickland, Manager of Technology, Track Bowling. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the I-Core today and about the design concept that we use for the I-Core. You know, it's kind of interesting when Rich kind of explained to you a little bit about, the idea behind the I-Core. We're going to take a little bit deeper look into that. I want to start out by kind of explaining to you kind of how traditional core shapes are designed. Traditionally what happens is we'll take a core shape and we'll put external pieces on the outside. This piece here being a puck would go on the outside of the core shape, or we'll put it as a piece that goes above it or below it. With the I-Core, we wanted to do something very unique. We're looking for that core shape that would be more versatile than a typical core shape. So what we did is we figured out a way to incorporate that puck or that piece on the inside of the core. You can kind of see here in this model where the actual piece is on the inside of the shape as opposed to an outside external piece. This is really cool because what it did is it allowed us to get more versatility out of the overall shape. We actually were looking for a shape, that most people, when you design these things, you say, well, you want them to have a high mass bias or a low RG or low mass bias or a high RG. Well, we actually wanted to do both. By going with the unique interior piece inside of the core, it allowed us to do both. And that's what allowed us to get the numbers that range from the mass bias intermediate of a 16 and say the MX16 and LX16, or the zero mass bias, which is in the brand new Tour 6. That makes this ball very, very special. I want to go into a little detail about how we actually designed and put this core together. Basically, this is actually the mold that we use to assemble the core. What happens is the core is actually initially poured in this fashion right here. As you can see, the core actually is poured in this fashion. We take it out of here once it's done, and then we'll stick it in the outer mold, which is this. We'll set it in just like this. And you can see in the shape here, you can actually see where this groove now comes into play. That groove allows the material to flow through the core to fill in the bottom half of the core once the actual core mold is put together like so. So we do it like this, we'll pour it in, and then ultimately what you end up with is a piece like this. It actually has that interior piece built into it. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the numbers of the two different core shapes that we have and show you how much weight difference actually matters when you're talking about core design. So now what we're going to do is we're going to break down a 15-pound bowling ball in terms of the individual components. There's basically 4 components to the bowling ball, and we're going to talk about them individually in terms of how much they weigh. So as an example here, the cover stock weighs 4 pounds. That's pretty consistent across all bowling balls. What that does is that gives us 11 pounds of material to distribute throughout the outer core, the inner core, and then the inner core body. What we've been able to do is we said we want a low RG ball here. We want a strong, high revving core. So we need to put as much material as possible throughout the middle body of the core. If you were to take a look at that piece, which is right here, and you were to weigh it, you would see that that core weighs 6.98 pounds, roughly half of the total ball weight. Of the 6.98 pounds, if you look at the inner piece of that core, that actually weighs 3.38 pounds. What that does is that allows us to concentrate as much mass as possible here, leaving only 4 pounds for that outer material to go around the rest of the ball. What that does is gives us our RG value of 2.49. The total shape gives us the flare of 0.053, and ultimately the weight of this interior piece and the shape gives us that intermediate differential of 0.016, which gives you that strong mid-lane continuous ball motion that you'd expect out of the MX16. Now what we're going to do is talk about that same kind of concept, but we're going to use the I-Core that's used in the Tour 6 to explain it. So now let's talk about the construction of the Tour 6. It's the same basic 4 components, with the cover stock being 4 pounds and being fixed. That gives us 11 pounds of material to distribute inside the core. If you were to look at the Tour 6 core and weigh it, you would see that it weighs less. The total core now actually only weighs 5.34 pounds. Of the 5.34 pounds, that interior piece actually only weighs 2.20 pounds. What that's done is that's allowed us to raise the RG. We've raised the RG to 2.59. We've also been able to lower the differential. The differential now is 0.032. What the key is right here though. Because this piece is lighter, the intermediate differential is now 0, making it a symmetrical core. Now you say, well, what does that mean to the performance? Basically, what that does is that high RG gets the ball down the lane longer. That lower differential makes it a smoother transition. And because it's a symmetrical core ball, you get a nice predictable read all the way through the pins. That's what makes the Tour 6 a special product.